One's a blue chip legacy, the other a transfer out to prove himself. It's Arch Manning versus Julian Sayin. But this isn't just about quarterbacks. It's about revenge. It's about pressure and legacy. Ohio State enters as defending champs. Texas enters with something to prove. This is the Horseshoe, and this is how dynasties begin or end. Let's break the huddle. Brad, as we break down this game, so many storylines. Obviously, Arch Manning, Julian Sayin at the top, Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Wingo at the wide receiver spots. And then you look at the defensive side of the ball for these two teams. We're going to jump into it, but just real quick, let's recap last year. I mean, this is Texas's last opponent last year. Yeah. They lost in the semifinals to Ohio State. Ryan Day finally gets over the hump, gets that national championship. Now Steve Sarkisian enters the year with the pressure. All eyes on Texas as we head into week one. Give us your initial take on this matchup.
Super excited. Been reading a little bit. I think there's some salty fans on both sides that this is a 12 o'clock game. But, hey, we get to, wake up, get breakfast, watch College Game Day, and boom, kickoff and maybe the biggest game of the year. I mean, definitely week one. This is a huge game. I mean, playoff implications, and neither, obviously, Nate, we know this and our viewers know this, neither team, the loser, their playoff hopes are not over.
No.
But the winner has got such an early track of being the favorite to be national champions for Texas. They're going to come in preseason number one, Ohio State, the defending national champions. This is going to be a fun one. I'm juiced. I'm ready for it already. Excuse me.
Yeah, and you talk about the fans being heated for this one. How about the players? I mean, I've seen some social media beef from the Texas defenders reposting Julian Sayin being named the starter at quarterback and saying, get ready, get ready. And, oh, man, if that doesn't get your blood flowing, if that doesn't give you goosebumps, I don't know what will. Let's talk about this quarterback spotlight, shall we? We'll talk about the coaching staff and stuff because there's some new coaching staff on both sides of the ball too. But let's look at this quarterback spotlight. Arch Manning versus Julian Sayin. Former 5-star and Julian Sayin. I can't remember if Arch Manning was a 4-star or 5-star. 5-star. I know it was kind of different. A lot of different takes on what he was. But Arch Manning, year 3 of college football now, crazy to think, right? It seems like he literally just entered at the University of Texas. He's been patient. He's waited his time. Now he gets his moment. What are your thoughts on Arch Manning, and what would be your word of advice to him heading into this week?
It's different this year for Arch. And Texas fans, you obviously know this. You've been watching the videos, reading the articles. It's his team now. It was not, I'm the starter for, this week, maybe next week because Quinn Ewers is battling an injury. This is Arch's team, and that's got to be a different mindset. I think he's played a lot of football. He played in some big-time games last year. I think about he came in some for the Georgia game. He played against A&M, with some design.
Scored a touchdown.
Exactly. Scored a touchdown, some design runs, but it's his offense now. It's his team. And so I think you're going to see some nerves from him, but I think those are quickly going to go out the window. I think he's going to settle in really, really nicely. Nate, a big thing that I'm interested in is you saw this guy's running ability last year. Totally different than Quinn Ewers. I'm not saying Quinn Ewers was a statue, but Arch is I would say, a true dual threat. And I think that is going to be interesting for this Texas offensive staff to play with. This is already a creative and fun offense with all the different motions, with all the different formations. Now they get that added development of, hey, we can use Arch's legs, and that's going to be interesting, I think.
Yeah, and I saw Steve Sarkisian come out in a press conference today, week one, obviously their opening press conference for the week. And he told Arch, he said, quote, just be yourself.
Yeah.
Just go out there and be yourself. And I think that's the exact mentality. Listen, he's been in the same offensive system for 3 years now.
Right.
So going into week one, especially with a key opponent like Ohio State, I'm not saying that you have to necessarily empty the bag, but everything's on the table.
Absolutely.
Every single thing on your playbook is on the table.
Yeah.
And that's a really good feeling if you're Steve Sarkisian and that Texas offense heading into this game. Got to be very confident going on the road.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think you brought up a good point. We're going to see so many teams this week that are going to be extremely vanilla. They're going to, they're not going to show a lot. These two teams, they're throwing out everything because they have to get a win. I mean, there's no hiding.
No.
There's no hiding. I think that's a good point.
And they know each other very well. They literally They literally played less than 6 months ago, not 8 months, whatever it was in the semifinals. They played each other less than a year ago. So it's crazy to see this matchup play out. And then we look at Julian Sayin just real quick. He's been quiet this offseason, but a lot of people have been high on him. You bring in new offensive coordinator and Brian Hartline, a system that, Brian Hartline's very familiar with.
Yeah.
He's a former wide receiver himself. Do you think he lets Julian Sayin do you think he lets it rip?
I do, and look, Julian Sayin, the best thing he can do is get it to number 4. Get it to Jeremiah Smith as much as possible. The best player in college football. I'm interested to see, Chip Kelly really brought a lot of different elements to this last year. And look, Ryan Day's still going to have his touch on it, but we saw Will Howard last year. Will Howard was a good passer. We saw a lot of QB zone, a lot of QB power. To me, Nate, I think Ohio State's going to get back to what the Ohio State offense was when C.J. Stroud was there. C.J. definitely could move in the pocket, but he was not necessarily looking to run. He was looking to extend the play and look for the open guy, and I think that's what Julian Sayin is going to bring to the table.
Yeah, I think it's exciting. I think Brian Hartline has waited his time patiently. Everyone thought, maybe he'll take a head coaching job somewhere else, and he didn't. Right. He stayed around as the wide receivers coach. Now he's earned his spot as offensive coordinator. And real quick, and I can't remember his name, maybe there's a tight end for Ohio State that's very underrated as well. Look for him to get involved as well. Like I said, I cannot remember his name to save my life, but they've got more weapons than Jeremiah Smith.
Oh, yeah.
And look for Julian Sayin to pass the rock around a good bit. Let's talk about the program trajectories and coaching. Texas, right? Stability. Sark returns his entire staff, and the defensive identity has really improved over the last few years. I'll never forget, me and you were talking about this 3 years ago. Texas went on the road to Bama, beats Bama. And you and I both said, what did we say?
It's an SEC front 7.
And it still remains.
And they were in the Big 12, and that's exactly right. Sark has changed that roster completely.
He has. And the defense has returned. Mm-hmm. The staff has returned. This Texas coming into this with pushing aside question marks about Arch Manning. Position for position, this has to be one of the most loaded rosters in all of college football. This is the year that Sark has been building towards. This is the team that he's been waiting to have. Now they have their moment heading in to Columbus, Ohio, in the shoe to take on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Man, what a great feeling that is. And then you look at Ohio State, right? They bring in 2 new coordinators. They lose Chip Kelly. They lose Jim Knowles. Now they bring in Hartline as the OC. He's a vertical pass game guy. You bring in Matt Patricia, NFL pedigree. Played, coached under Bill Belichick for years, and now he's going into a system where it's going to be different. He's got to simplify things for these guys week 1, even though it's at home. You really got to simplify it for these guys, and as the season progresses, I think you kind of bring them in to the system more. Just your quick take on the coaches and the programs heading in.
Super quick take. From an Ohio State perspective, I'm super excited to see what Matt Patricia brings in. And you mentioned he's not going to run some of the complexities that we saw, he ran in the NFL. But look, he's got a golden opportunity because I won't say the Texas staff is going in blind to this game, but I do think there's a little bit of the unknown of what kind of looks, what kind of exotic blitzes are we going to get from Matt Patricia. That's going to be a big storyline to me as he's got some serious things that he can throw out that Texas is going to have no idea what's coming out of that. It's going to be curious to me, I think.
Yeah, and we look at the key matchups for this offense versus defense. You look at Ohio State's wide receivers versus Texas secondary. Texas is probably not going to be able to play much man-to-man in this game. Even if they do bring a blitz, they're going to have to key it up perfectly in the back end for zone coverage. I think that really is the big storyline.
Yeah.
Can Texas get pressure on Julian without having to bring guys in from the secondary or the linebacking core.
No, that is a great point. If Texas starts to have to bring other guys, that leaves Jeremiah Smith one-on-one, Carnell Tate, Brandon Ennis.
The tight end. I can't remember his
name. There's some problems there. Texas has got to get pressure with their front four. If they don't, look, Ohio State's got a very, very good chance to walk away with this game.
Yeah, and yeah, we answered it right there, right? My biggest thing too, and I got it up here as well, the Texas run game, man. Mm-hmm. I never thought I'd say this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, in my opinion, and I'm probably going to get flack for this, I don't care. To me, in my opinion, I never thought I'd be able to say this. Texas has the better run game going into this game. With CJ Baxter and Blue back there, holy smokes, dude. What a 1-2 punch. Yeah. And then, by the way, you throw in the run game for Arch Manning. Right. You're gonna see at least 3 to 4 designed run plays with Arch Manning in the read option or quarterback power, whatever you look at, draw it up. Steve Sarkisian, man, he's got so many weapons and so many opportunities to expose this Ohio State offense or defense. Excuse me.
Absolutely, no. I think you bring a good point. Ohio State, we know. I mean, you lose Judkins, you lose Travion Henderson. That's a big deal. Ohio State's still very, very talented at that position. I would say it's more that Texas. I think Texas overall is a little bit better in the running back room and their running game. They're also just more proven, and I think that's a big deal, at least obviously for week one.
It is. And I think it's a big deal for Texas to have those long sustaining drives.
Yeah.
7 to 8 minute long drives. We saw Stanford, I think they had a drive Saturday night where it was like 9 minutes long, just crazy, still come up short. But no, I think they really do have to keep this offense. But here's the other thing, and I cannot reiterate this enough, and I think you'd agree. One play with Jeremiah Smith, and this is a whole different ball game. I mean, it really is. We saw it against Oregon in the Rose Bowl. One play, and the game changes. Right. And then you're behind, and you're saying, oh, crap, we got to go out there and move quickly. Let's say there's 6 minutes in the fourth. You got to get down the field and get going. Yeah, it's such a great matchup, man. There's so many different ways to look at it. But let's look at the betting and prediction. Ohio State favored by 2.5 in this one. And I said this last week. Whenever a team's favored by 2.5 or 3 points, that means Vegas is saying, hey, this is an even matchup if it's on neutral site. They're giving Ohio State the benefit of the doubt because it's on the home turf. Probably have more question marks about Ohio State than they do Texas from a roster standpoint. But both teams are freaking loaded. Yeah. Like, they are loaded. So when you look at this matchup, Brad, who do you have coming out in week one in the shoe?
You know, I still go back and forth on this one, but ultimately, just because I think there's just a little bit more experience, I'm going to take Texas.
Wow.
Very, very close one. I think it's going to be 28-24, 24-21, something along those lines. I think Julian Sayin makes some kind of costly mistake / turnover in the second half. Nate, I think something that I'm expecting, I think Texas is going to have an explosive offense, but I think Saturday, I think they're going to look to maybe keep the Ohio State offense off the field some. And look, you want to put pressure on Julian Sayin, but I say that if, keep them off the field because Jeremiah Smith and those other weapons can't be on the field. And so I think it's going to be an extremely close game. I ultimately think Arch and his legs in that Texas running game is the difference maker.
Yeah, I've been waffling back and forth on this one as well, Brad. My heart says go with Texas. My mind says go with Ohio State. Quick fun fact for you guys, and this goes back, dating back to even when I was doing college football pick'ems on ESPN. Shout out Randall. Back in the day, this is no joke. I can't make this stuff up. Every time that I've picked Texas, they've lost. Every time I've picked against Texas, they win.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm put in a debacle here because my whole family's from Texas. They root for Texas. But I have to agree with you, Brad. I just think Texas makes 1 or 2 extra plays, and maybe Julian Sayin makes one wrong read. Maybe a pass gets deflected, right? There's a lot of things that go into when a young freshman, and I'll call him a freshman even though he's a redshirt.
Right.
When a guy's getting his first start, you don't think about the little things.
Right.
You don't think about the passing angles. You don't think about the big guys up front that can literally jump up, get their hands up. Next thing you know, pass deflect turns into a pick 6. And I think that's where the difference is. Give me Texas late in this game, 30-27 with a walk-off kick. I think I called it last week. I know I called Hawaii winning, but I don't think I called them with a game-winning kick.
Right.
But man, what a storyline that was. But give me Texas. Give me Texas to win close in this one. I think this is going to be a preview of probably a playoff game another playoff matchup, another national championship game. Even a lot of people speculate that these two teams could see themselves in the national championship game. Only the future knows. Yeah. We shall see. Until then, Ohio State, Texas fans, we want to hear from you. Let us know down in the comments what you think about this big matchup in the shoe, and who do you think comes out on top? Is it going to be the Longhorns? Is it going to be the Buckeyes week 1? 12 p.m. kickoff on Fox. Be sure to subscribe down below, like this video, share it with your friends, and as always, turn on that bell notification so you can stay up to date when we post our latest content. We'll see you next week. It's time to break the huddle.